Welcome to another reaction video. Today we're going to be reacting to Gavin McInnes trying to rescue Kanye from anti-Semitism. This should be festive.
Welcome to the first episode of Saving Ye, where I am going to prevent Ye West from becoming an anti-Semite or a Nazi. I'm going to talk him off the ledge and bring him back to the understanding that our problem is liberal elites of all races. Kamala Harris is a major problem. Barack Obama is what started this whole mess, I would argue. We weren't really into racism before he came along. So I want to go over there and say anti-Semitism is a rut. Yes, they're overrepresented in media. They're overrepresented in banking and obviously Hollywood. No one denies that. But to sort of focus on this militia intent is a rut. It's the same when black people are like, whites ruined everything. I could never be successful because white people will be racist. That's an intellectual divot. It's an intellectual ditch. So I'm going to try to pull him out of the ditch and say, let's focus on the elites, on the Bill Gates, on the Kamala Harris, on the Barack Obama, and not go down the Jew road because it's a dead end.
But the only way for us to bring America back to where it needs to be, this is a Christian country, and it needs to be ran by Christian leaders that don't bow to Jared Kushner, that don't bow to Rahm Emanuel. You already know DeSantis is a fake conservative. We don't even know who the Democrats are going to put up. And yeah, that's my answer to that.
Okay, I'm going to have an intervention here for you.
So I should say something about the mask. Apparently the mask is Kanye's attempt to keep himself from being commodified. His face was the commodity, the brand, and so he's unbranding the brand, if you will. This is an attempt to liberate himself, and I would suggest that it is not going to work. This is just odd. I've had it up to here with masks.
For you and Nick, and let me just make a case. Yes, there are almost 80 to 90% of Hollywood is Jewish, probably more. Media, yeah, I'm going to say like 80% of media is Jewish, but I see the Jews we're talking about in these cases as liberal elites, high IQ people, whites, and when you have, like, they're disproportionately represented in medicine too, because they have high IQs. So the problem isn't these Jews, and most of them are secular Jews, atheists. I don't see Soros as Jewish.
So his argument here is a really solid one, and one that I see routinely sidestepped in discussions of this whole thing. For many historical reasons, going back centuries, the Jews have become a highly disciplined, highly trained, highly focused, high performance people. They are people who are going to rise to the top of whatever profession they are in. And so consequently, Jews are overrepresented when it comes to patents. Jews are overrepresented when it comes to being violin maestros. They're overrepresented when it comes to Nobel Prizes. They're overrepresented. Now, that means that when they go over to the dark side, they are going to rise to the leadership of the dark side. So when people say the Bolshevik revolution, which was ushered in a century of horrors, that Bolshevik movement that ushered in a century of horrors was a Jewish thing, or Jews were heavily represented in it. And so consequently, they did a lot of damage. They also, in medicine, do a lot of good. So you can't just say, look at the bad things the Jews do, unless you're also willing to say, and of course, because I'm a fair-minded individual, I want to point out all the beneficial things that they do. There are Israeli cheerleaders, pom-poms and all, that just want to do the opposite. They want to point to Israel and say, look at all the advancements, look at the scientific advancements, look at the patents, look at all the good that's being ushered in. And that's just as lopsided. The Jews are sinners like everybody else. And because they're high performance people, when they go in for sin, when they go in for crime, they're high performance criminals. When they go in for things that are beneficial to society, they're high performance there as well. So McInnes has a sound argument here. It's a good argument, and it needs to be engaged with, which Kanye doesn't do.
So we have these secular, mostly atheist Jewish people with high IQs who dominate fields that tend to require high IQs. They're overrepresented in chess and mathematics too. So the real issue here, and there is an ethnomasochism, there is some sort of like, let's burn it to the ground.
So this point about ethnomasochism is a sound point also. And this has to do with liberal white guilt, where at the end of Proverbs 8, wisdom speaking says, all who hate me love death. So everyone who hates wisdom has a death wish. And white liberal establishment America, our liberal ruling elites, are masochistic. They're suicidal. They are trying to suicide the West. They want the thing to burn down. They want the West, which is largely made up of Christian contributions, not entirely Christian. I'm not maintaining that the West is Christian top to bottom, front to back, side to side, but the West is not understandable apart from the influence of Christianity. And because of that, our liberal ruling elites who are suicidal, who are epistemologically suicidal, they want to destroy all that. And they can be white, black, Jewish, whatever. But McInnes is correct. The problem is our ruling class.
High IQ people, whites, and when you have, like they're disproportionately represented in medicine too, because they have high IQs. So the problem isn't these Jews, and most of them are secular Jews, atheists. I don't see Soros as Jewish. So we have these secular, mostly atheist Jewish people with high IQs who dominate fields that tend to require high IQs. They're overrepresented in chess and mathematics too. So the real issue here, and there is an ethnomasochism, there is some sort of like, let's burn it to the ground. But I think that trait is a white trait, a liberal elite white trait. Oh, not even white per se, a liberal elite trait. Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, they also have these traits. And there's some sort of like lemming DNA in white people where when they reach a certain amount of success, they just want to take it off a cliff. And I don't like when Jews get pulled into that, because when I think of my Orthodox Jewish friends and even my Hasidic friends, these people are conservative, Trump-supporting, American patriots. And the Jews that are getting lumped in with this sort of ethnomasochistic cultural suicide tend not really to be Jewish. I call them ginos, Jews in name only. It's liberal elite whites you should have a beef with.
Yeah, but I lump them all in together. That's what I did. That's how.
Okay.
There's your answer. I'm gonna.
Okay, that's good.
That's why the tweet said that, Jewish people.
Okay. But this trait, blacks are overrepresented in violent crime. But when you meet an individual black person, you don't apply that. You start with a fresh slate every time you meet someone. Do you do that with Jews?
Nope.
This intervention is not going so hot.
This intervention isn't going very well.
They use porn in wars. It's like a gas. We want to talk about gas chambers. This is the gas chamber. It's a silent killer, and it's legal, and they put it on every single block. And they use my ex-wife to sell it, and they want to dumb us down. Look, let me let some of these other incredible individuals speak for a second. Go ahead, I'm gonna put my hand back on the Bible.
Jews suffer from porn the same way everyone else does. The idea that they are controlling everything and then saying, I'm going to use it to sabotage the white man. You look at Jew birth rates, for example. That sounds terrible. But you look at like Orthodox, Hasidic, and secular atheist types. They're not having any kids either.
Yeah, what McInnes is making the point here, that this is not simply a murder. This is a murder-suicide. This is hatred of everything that God wants to give us.
They're not having any kids either. So this whole idea that they're like, Jews will not replace us, Jews are wiping us out. These elitist Jewish people are wiping themselves out. They're the victims of the same porn. So my point is that if you look at real Jews, Orthodox and more
drug
traditional,
dealers get addicted to crack too.
Right, but the idea that they're over here going, fnah, fnah,
Pimp
they're
that
over
sexual
here like
prostitute.
pulling it down with the rest of the elite globalists. They're all destroying Western culture.
That's Satan. And
Sure.
the main issue for any religion, the main issue is that Christ is king. Christ is the true king of Israel. Christ
Amen. We'll go with him that. Let's go with him that far.
is the king of all kings. If you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you are wrong. And anyone that doesn't believe in Jesus Christ should not be in control or any influence to anything that America produces.
So here's the second major argument. The first argument had to do with the Jews as a high performance people. This is Kanye's venture into political theory, and there's a very practical problem. How are you going to do that? In order to have, he's exactly right, that you want God-fearing men running the country. You don't want people who can be bribed. You don't want people who are idolaters. You don't want people running the country who are serving another God. That's very true. But how do we get from here, where we are now, to that point? It is not possible for us to do this apart from a reformation and a revival resulting in a Christian consensus among the people. If you just brought in a King Josiah, and he tore down the idols and he instituted a bunch of political reformations, and then he died, well, then the people are just going to revert. They're just going to go back like a dog returning to its vomit. They're just going to go back. The only way you can have God-fearing men who love Jesus Christ running the show is if the people have been transformed through the preaching of the gospel. So if there's a revival, if there is a massive reformation, if there's a return to a Christian consensus, then what Kanye is talking about becomes a possibility. And it's going to happen naturally and organically. And it will be unnecessary for him to answer the question that McInnes poses to him. How are you going to do that? You're going to make a law? Because what's going to happen is if you try to do this without a Christian consensus, which is to have Christians be the rulers, it's going to be a top-down reformation, a top-down reform, and it's going to blow up in your face.